Yo, what is good with y'all? It's your boy KAG, and today we're going to be talking about the Nintendo NX and the fact that it is going to be either A handheld, or B, a hybrid, but it will not, C, be a traditional console. And let me go ahead and prove to y'all 100% why it will not be a traditional console, and I have proof right here. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and let's hop into this video. Now I'm going to try to speak as fast as possible, that way I can make this video as short as possible, but we'll see how it all goes. Now, point A, the fact that it's supposed to be revealed in Japan later this year in September, that would kind of lend towards the credence that it would be a handheld type device, because number one, Japan likes handheld type devices. They don't really like consoles so much. So with that being said, let's continue on. Now we have the fact that this patent for this oval type device that is actually patented is by Nintendo online, that you can see for yourself. This is actually another hint towards it being a handheld. And another point is the point that it actually gives credence to the Nintendo 3DS or the DS line, because that was the prior product, and this would be an update of that existing product. So with that being said, that also kind of lends towards the fact that it would be a handheld type device. Now, if we look at E3, what happened this E3? Well, they announced some games and they showed off The Legend of Zelda and all of that good stuff. But what we did not see was any games for the 3DS that are coming out in 2017. Did y'all hear anything? I know I didn't. Now, granted, we have a few games coming out this year, like that Metroid game that nobody really seems to like, and we have Pokemon Sun and Moon, and we have Monster Hunter. All of these games are coming out this year, 2016. They're not coming out in 2017. There's no games announced for 2017. But when is the NX release? It releases in March of 2017. Now, what is funny about March? Well, the fact that the Nintendo DS, or should I say the Nintendo 3DS, was released 6 years ago in March, that would kind of lend towards it being a handheld type device, right? Because generally you don't release consoles in March. You would try to release that prior to that holiday season, but as we all know, handhelds can typically be sold year-round, and it doesn't really affect it that much. Now, with all that being said, let's go on and let's continue on with the fact that Macronix is supposed to get an increase in sales with their cartridges. Now, with that being said, Macronix having some type of cartridge increase in sales would also lend towards it being a handheld. Why is that? Well, the fact that handhelds since the beginning of time have always taken cartridges. Consoles, as of late, last time I checked, they were taking DVDs or Blu-rays or something like that, some type of disc media. Now, a lot of people would like to say that, hey, they're gonna go ahead and they're gonna be putting cartridges on the NX console, right? You know, on this new console, it will take cartridges. However, that's not really necessarily the case, but because handhelds have always taken cartridges, then that would kind of lead it towards it being a handheld type device. And why does it take cartridges? Well, because generally they're mobile devices, y'all. If you look at the PSP, it had the little disc that spin in it, and half the time there was issues with this disc spinning, because discs should not be in a handheld type device. It's either gonna A, fly out the back of it, which I'm sure y'all have seen, or B, it's gonna be bumpy and it's gonna mess up your game. So yeah, why do you think the PlayStation Vita actually ended up switching to cartridges rather than having the little disc in it? But yeah, like I said, Macronix is doing cartridges, which also lends it towards being a console, or should I say a handheld console type device, or a hybrid, or just a regular handheld. But let's take a look at The Legend of Zelda. Now, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is going to be a very graphic intense game per se, right? As we all have seen it, it looks really good. Now, for this to be on a handheld type device, that would mean that this handheld type device would be kind of phenomenal, and a lot of people would enjoy playing it because it would have very good graphics and very good, great capability. So that would also lend it towards being a real system seller for this type of device. Or if the fact that it was a hybrid, then that means you would actually be able to play that game on the go or at home on your TV. So that could be a handheld or a hybrid type device. But let's not stop there. We gotta listen to what Iwata said. Now, in a statement, Iwata said, however, if you only expand upon existing hardware, it's dull. In some shape or form or fashion, a dedicated system and a video game platform will have to change in some type of shape or form. That way it surprises players, as well as our desire to change each person's video gaming life. Now, with that being said, a new shape or form. As you all know, the Nintendo 3DS came out, and it kind of struggled in the very beginning with its sales. And why is that? Well, if you look at the DS line, we've had the DS, we've had the DSi, we've had the DS Lite, we've had the 3DS, we've had the 3DS XL, we've had the DSi XL. I mean, there's been a lot of DS, y'all. And it's actually time for that device to be replaced with a new device, right? Because people are getting bored with it, which is why the 3DS kind of had lower sales in the beginning. So, in order to do that, we changed the shape or form factor of this device. So, on top of that, if we went ahead and we made it one screen type device, like the one in the patent, that would be a new look, new design, everything about it would be completely new. It wouldn't be a DS per se, because it doesn't have two screens. Now, going on to the next statement, he says, I cannot confirm when it will be launched or any other details of the system, since I have confirmed that it will be a dedicated video game platform with a brand new concept. And as y'all all know, a brand new concept would not be a traditional console with a regular controller. That's not a brand new concept. But let's continue on. It says it should mean that we do not intend it to become a simple replacement for the Nintendo 3DS or the Wii U. Notice he puts Nintendo 3DS up front and then Wii U behind it. So what does that kind of tell you? That means that more than likely it has more to do with it being a handheld type device than a console type device, because he puts 3DS in the beginning before he puts Wii U, and the fact, like I said earlier, March 2017 marks 6 years. It's time for the 3DS to be replaced with a new form factor. So, with all that being said, let's continue on with his next statement. He says, your question also included the current notion of thinking about home consoles and handheld devices. When it comes to how dedicated game systems are being played, the situations have become rather different, especially between Japan and overseas. Now, as we all know, Japan do not traditionally buy consoles. They typically buy handheld type devices. So that kind of lends more credence to it being a handheld type device right there. But let's continue on with the statement. Since we are always thinking about how to create a new platform that will be accepted by as many people around the world as possible, we would like to offer to them a dedicated video game platform with a brand new concept by taking into consideration various factors, including the playing environments that differ by country. This is all that I can confirm today. Now, a little funny note about this actual statement, where he says a brand new concept, first of all, by taking into consideration various factors, including the playing environments that differ by country. Now, as we all know, in the actual Japan community, they have less space than the actual US and overseas and all of that. We typically have more space than they have, which is why they typically use handheld type devices. However, there is a patent for another device, another handheld type device, that is one that you take on the go with you at all times, which has a little bit to do with the quality of life because it does health related things. But the funny thing about this patent is it actually has a projector of sorts, which allows it to be projected onto a wall or onto a ceiling or anything like that. Now, if that is the case, if we were to apply that type of device to a handheld, because it actually has like a little docking station that it can sit in. Now, if we go ahead and we apply that to that, then that would mean that typically you could actually use that device to display a screen on a wall. Now, why is this beneficial? Well, over in Japan, because they have small spaces, they don't have space for TVs a lot of times. But if we had the removal of a TV and we could just slap an actual projected screen on the wall, then you wouldn't have the issue of having the need for a TV, and it would kind of lend it towards being a console and handheld hybrid type device. But let's continue on, and yes, I just want to note that, and I'll probably talk about that patent in another video. If y'all actually want that, go ahead and hit that like button, but let's continue on. So, he says, what are your thoughts on your next generation console, the NX? And he goes on to say, it's something very new. The hardware, the software lineup, all of it is something I'd like to play for the first time myself. Now, with that being said, of course we know the software lineup is all something very new. But on top of that, the fact that the hardware is going to be something very new kind of lets you know right there that, hey, this is not your regular console. Because a regular console would not be something very new as far as hardware goes, right? But let's continue on with this statement. Kimishima also went on to say, the NX will be released next March. Won't that cause the people to stop buying the console this year? And that's what this person is saying. So, won't that cause people to stop buying consoles this year? And he goes on to say, our business is a lively one. Of course, if you compare the Wii U to the Wii, you understand the situation when the NX is released. The Wii U business will slow, but the 3DS has Pokemon coming this autumn. And that's such a big hit that I can't imagine the NX will have a negative impact on the 3DS. Now, with that being said right there, that kind of lends a little bit more credit towards it being a handheld type device, because he brings up the 3DS once again, and it's not just strictly the Wii U that will be affected. Now, he goes on to say that Pokemon is coming out in November. Now, with that being said, people are going to pick up Pokemon regardless of whether or not a new console is coming out, because they got to play the new Pokemon game. Now, if we go ahead and we remove the NX out of that launch lineup and we push it back towards March, rather than it coming out November/December, then that means we have less competition with the 3DS, because the 3DS will have Pokemon that will be coming out, and they would have no need for them to go out and buy a brand new console type device or a new handheld type device, because they can already play Pokemon on their current device that they already own. So, yeah, that kind of gives you a little leeway by pushing it back to March, because that gives you about 4 months to actually play that game, and all those people that were going to buy that game typically have already purchased it. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and let's continue on. It says, it seems more to me that the NX will have an effect on the Wii U due to the fact that both will be consoles. And so, he goes on to say, I suppose it can be seen that way. Now notice that statement right there. It can seem that way because you don't know what it is. You know, so because you don't know what it is, it can seem like it's going to have more of an impact on the Wii U sales, but not necessarily. But let's continue on. He says, however, the NX is neither the successor to the Wii U nor to the 3DS. Once again, the 3DS is being brought up in this conversation. The 3DS has something to do with the NX. So, with that being said, let's continue on with what he says. It's a new way of playing games, which I will have a larger impact than the Wii U. But I don't feel it's a pure replacement for the Wii U. Now, with that being said, if it's not a pure replacement for the Wii U, then he didn't say it's not a pure replacement for the 3DS. Because he would have actually said that. But because, the 3DS has two screens, it could be possibility that it's not a pure replacement for the 3DS, but in actuality, it really is. It's just like when the DS was revealed, and they said, well, this won't have any effect on the Game Boy will still be around. But we all know how that all turned out. The DS took off, and then, the rest is history. Or should I say, the Game Boy was history. So yeah, with it being a handheld type device, that would mean that it wouldn't technically be a pure replacement for the Wii U. But if it had a little bit of console functionality, then that means that it could technically be somewhat of some type of replacement or some type of effect on the Wii U itself. But it's all a lot of stuff to take in. I actually could continue this video, but this video is already beginning to be very extremely long. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and let me know what y'all think. Do y'all believe it's going to be a handheld? Do you believe it's going to be a hybrid? Or do you still think it's going to be a console? But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button. And as always, if you're new to this channel, then be sure to subscribe, because we talk about all things Nintendo here, as well as a whole lot of Nintendo NX. Be sure to hit that playlist. But anyways, I'll talk to y'all another one. Peace.